Hey Riley, how are you?
I'm good.
I put you in charge again, so you're your host. It's recording locally.
Sounds good to me. Okay, welcome everybody. I see that we're missing still quite a few people, but they should be able to pick up as we join. Let's start with taking a look and see what you guys built after last night. Any volunteers to go first?
I'm playing right now, though.
Pardon?
I'm in the middle of one of my rounds. Like, I'm playing my thing.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a look at Armand and then we can do Ajwad.
Okay.
Go ahead, Armand.
It says host disable participant screen sharing.
Of course. That's not the button I wanted to hit. There we go.
I couldn't do that much because I was sick yesterday.
That's okay. What did you do?
I was gonna put a bunch of more spears with rigid bodies, so like when this spear falls, it will knock out every single other spears.
Interesting.
And it
And
will
can you
go
control it at
crazy.
all?
What?
Do you have any interactions or the player controller at all?
No.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Ajwad?
Okay. So practically, I'll just restart my game. Okay. So my game was supposed to be a soccer game, which kind of fell backwards. I just wanted to have a kind of strange game kind of type. You have to get it into there, but it doesn't. The ball doesn't want to move with the player, weirdly enough. So it just messed up.
Have you tried turning down the mass of the ball?
Yeah, I put it at 0.1.
Interesting.
Like it just makes me go over it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We can maybe take a look at that towards the end.
Okay.
See what we can do if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was
we have
also
time.
wondering, could you also show us how to make the game have multiplayer?
Multiplayer.
Yes.
Do you mean local multiplayer or online multiplayer?
Local. Just local.
Okay, local multiplayer you guys already know how to do.
I don't remember how you do it.
Instead of being able to use the get access, you can just use, for example, get button A and get button D for player 1, and then for the other player use get button left arrow and get button right arrow to get the arrow keys.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not hard to do multiplayer.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
All right, no worries. Thank you very much.
Hey, hi everybody. How are we doing today?
Good. Good.
Good. So you guys ready to surprise us with your homework? Presentations? Multiplayer projects? Sorry, single player projects. So let's just quickly summarize what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna start with presenting your, looking at your project. You guys will present in a minute. And then we prepared something cool for you. So we decided we're gonna show you how to add audio to your project, how to add animation to your project. Riley want to teach you how to do the collision detection. And then at the end, if we have time left, we have a surprise for you. We're going to show you some fun stuff. We always keep it till the end because that kind of unleashes a lot of potential with Unity, but as soon as we show it, we lose kids' attention. So we kind of try to push it as much as possible to the end of the class. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so who wants to go first with the project?
Arman and Ajwad have already just presented.
Okay, so let me just mark them here. Arman and Ajwad presented. Okay, let's just go in the same order as we did yesterday.
Lucas just said he'd go.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead, Lucas. Share your screen. I don't see Zach today, so is Zachary here? Max is here. Khalid is here. Andrew. Okay, and I don't see Andrew, right? Yeah, so we're missing Andrew and Zach. Okay, go ahead, Lucas.
It's not as complicated as I wanted to be because I had a couple of lessons yesterday, so I didn't have a lot of time, but it's meant to be a maze.
That's okay, that's perfect. We just want to make sure you can start something so that you can actually work on your own after this week. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's a cool idea, actually.
Oh, did you not want to play it for us, Lucas?
Nah. Oh, okay then. I'll
Yeah, play it for us. And maybe we'll take this opportunity to show you how, can you show him how to actually attach the camera so that they actually see, or I wonder how we're going to see it. Go ahead,
we'll
Lucas,
see.
share your screen and play it, yes.
So you just
Nice, and it's glowing. Wow, that's awesome. Good job. Sometimes the cool stuff are really simple, so that's awesome. That's great. So Riley, just reminded me, remember how we used to put the camera on an object and actually see it through the eyes of the player?
Yep.
Yeah, do you want to maybe look at this project to show how to do that?
Did anyone try and make a first-person character controller? Nathan? All right, we'll wait until Nathan's project then.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Nathan, you want to go next then? Good job, Lucas. Yeah.
Sure. So I searched up a tutorial on first-person controllers.
Okay.
So I'll show you. So let me just play it. So I linked the looking around with my mouse. So and you can move with AS, W, and D and stuff, and you can jump with space.
Nice.
So you can just like move around and stuff.
That's awesome. And can you maybe explain to like everyone and Lucas how you actually made it to be a first-person controller? Lucas,
So,
what you saw right now was a third-person controller. You see it from outside, right? So it's possible. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, you need you should first create like an empty body and call it like player or first-person player. That's what I did. And then you need to what was it again? You need to put the player controller on the object. And then if you have like gizmos on, it will show a cylinder. It will show like what the character controller is. So then I use the cylinder to make it look like a solid form. Because if I go ahead and delete the cylinder, oh wait, I can't. Never mind, I can't, or else it will break it. Yeah, so there's supposed to be like an outline of the player controller. And then you can put the camera, which looks around with a script I wrote called mouse look. And you put it at the top, so if it like bumps his head on anything, it will stop, not like clip through the like ceiling or anything. And then for gravity, you need like some empty object called ground check, where it will put a cylinder underneath the character and it will check if it's on the ground or not.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's basically it. And then the code, I can put a link to the video I used in the chat later. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, good job. And Riley, do you have anything to say?
No, I don't think I do.
So if we were to turn Lucas's game into first-person controller, like it's just because Nathan already has it. I was thinking like maybe if we can demonstrate on Lucas's project, would that be easier, Riley?
Did you want to see for your blah, blah. Lucas? Would you want your game to be in first person?
Lucas, can you unmute your mic? Lucas? I don't really care. Okay, so is that okay if we use your project for demonstration purposes, just so that everyone has it and they see how Riley does it? Sure.
All right, so go ahead and screen share and I'll show you what to do. It's
Mhm.
a rather fast process.
Yep, perfect.
So Nathan did mention this. All you need to do is make the main camera a child of your capsule.
Of your player. Yeah.
Yeah, of the player. And then you probably want to reset the transform of your camera. Yep, you can do it like that, or you can just right click and then click reset.
Right click on transform. Yeah, and save.
And now there's one little gotcha that we're going to need to take care of. Oh, is there? Maybe not. No, this should be fine. This should be fine. Don't forget to save the scene.
Save it as another one so you don't lose. Oh,
Oh well. It's not hard to undo what you want. So then if you just hit play, you should be able to move around. Now, there is a strong problem with this in that you can't look around with the mouse, which is why I didn't want to go ahead and build a first-person controller yesterday. For certain level designs, that's fine. In this case, it might be a little bit less than fine for this particular maze. But this is how you would set up start turning the third-person controller into a first-person controller. If we have time later, I can cover how to do mouse look and how to make sure you're pointing in the right direction.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more code that's not quite in the schedule.
Yeah, but I just wanted to show how simple that was. So you can undo that. You can just click Control Z to undo everything you just did to return back to your previous view if you want to. Yeah. But basically he just made the main camera to be the child of your player, right? So, okay, so good.
Okay.
Next. Who wants to go next? Max?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Looks like Max actually added the player controller to the snowman. Good job. Now play it for us.
Yeah. Okay. And I also tried to think of ways to like put hinges and stuff on something, but I couldn't think of anything.
Right. And you also made it to be a first-person control, right?
Yeah.
Good job.
I tried to get the camera to move with the mouse, but I couldn't figure it out. Cause I have like a different player controller that I had downloaded previously.
Mhm.
And so I was just using that as like a reference to try to like understand how it was working, and I couldn't like figure out how.
Yeah, this one's more complicated. I see it's doing jumps and all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, the jump on that one actually doesn't work though.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay. And you're using mouse X and Y, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Can you scroll up just a little bit? Okay. I think you're close. I think you're close. I don't want to take a look at it right now, but I think you're very, very close to getting it. So good job.
Yeah. Awesome. And yes, if you guys have some scripts that or links that you know work, please share in the chat with everyone. Nathan, thank you so much for offering that. And yeah, if you share with everyone in the chat the tutorial that helped you, that's also awesome. Yeah. And at the end of this class, we'll ask Riley to show what else you can do going forward. How would you actually teach yourself, right? Going forward. Yeah. Okay. Next, Khalid, you want to go next?
My project actually got deleted somehow. I tried playing around with it, but it was maybe that I didn't save or something, and it got deleted somehow.
Okay. Yeah. Again, be careful. Like when is it the project or is it just the scene?
I think it was a project.
Okay. So can you describe at least what you did?
So it was like I had the player controller Riley gave us, and I made walls and like tiny holes in the wall, and you're at like a speed, like a fast speed, and you come up to the walls and you try and go through them.
Ah, okay. That sounds fun.
I'm gonna try and remake it today along with today's homework if I can. So
perfect. Yeah, maybe you can show it tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no worries. Next, did Arman go yet? No, right? Arman. Did Arman go? You said he.
No, yeah, Arman went.
Oh, he already showed his. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Andre here? Oh, Zachary joined us. Hey, Zach, how are you doing?
Fine.
Hey, you want to go next?
Next, we're showing our homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I have only Andrew and Tyron and Adam, right? Left. So.
Ooh.
Wow, look at that.
I love your trees.
Mm-hmm.
I have made the camera follow the player.
That's cool.
Good job.
Ooh, shaky.
Yeah, it's a bit shaky.
Did you use a spring joint for the camera?
Spring thing, so that's why it's shaky. But I had like a bunch of terrain, snowy terrain, and
nice job. Very
That's
creative.
Really clever.
Can you explain how you made the camera follow the player?
So I kind of wait. Oops. So I pressed the main camera. I added a spring joint and character control, so the camera also gets to be controlled along with the player, and a spring joint to kind of have it attached. I tried to do it like one, but it didn't. Like I tried to use like a spring joint, but then it didn't work. So I used character control without spring joint, but it kind of just fell. So I kind of used both, and it's still sort of the same as using spring joint.
Can you hear me?
It's shaky. it's just shaky, and I kind of don't like it shaky.
Can you humor me and turn the damper field up to like 5 or 10 on the spring joint? And now let's see if this helps with the shakiness. Nope, nope, it didn't. That's fine. All right.
This is all I have. There's just like a lava land, snowy. It got some particles through there.
That's
There's
really cool,
also-
though.
So
Yeah.
that's a good thinking. Yeah, very good. Actually, applying the knowledge you learned to create something new. That's awesome. Good job. Excellent. Excellent. Bravo. Okay, so we have Adam or Tyron. Which of you want to?
Tyrone said that he didn't understand it well enough, which is fair enough because I didn't do a very good job explaining yesterday.
For the script or
For the
which
homework.
script? Oh, for the homework?
Yeah.
Some of you guys left earlier, yes, so maybe that's why. So, okay, and but Tyron, for the last class at least, I really want to see your project because I think for all these 4 days.
Yeah, so maybe I'll tell you guys all right now because it shouldn't be terribly much of a surprise what the homework's going to be tonight.
Yeah.
You guys have started a bit of a project. I really want to see you guys turn it into something, to make it a bit of a game. I'm going to show you some tools today to make it a little more interactive, to do some more stuff, and as well give you the tools to trigger different effects in your game so that if you wanted to have the player run into an ending and then have some sort of effects go off like fireworks or something like that, you should be able to by the end of today. And I want you guys to try and put it together and add a goal to the project that you have, or if you really wanted to start a new project with some sort of goal, and actually make a bit of a little game. Just a very, very tiny thing, more of a game demo since you only have an evening to do it. But I just want to see what you guys can come up with and what you might add to it based on what we have today.
Yeah, so basically every class we build on everything we learned already about, and the homework project should just incorporate everything you've learned and just be creative. Let your imagination rule you, right? So just try. Okay, Tyron, and I'm really hoping to see something tomorrow. Okay, and how about Adam? Adam, you want to turn on your microphone, please? Adam? Okay, Adam doesn't want to show his project either. Or he's having some technical difficulties maybe.
Well,
okay, so that's it, I guess. I'll just privately text him to make sure he's okay there. Okay, and yeah, Riley, go ahead and you can take over. Good job, guys, on today's projects. Yep. So we're gonna start now the new lesson.
So today's going to be a bit of a hodgepodge of different things. We have a bunch of fairly short topics to go over, and we'll see how many we can get in. Irada mentioned most of them earlier. The first one I want to talk about is adding sound effects to your game. Yeah, so sound effects are remarkably easy to add. If we take a look at the camera, it has this component on it called an audio listener. This is going to be necessary to have one and only one in your game to listen for sounds that get played. If you have a camera, it'll add a default. If you added a second camera in, you're going to get an error, probably if you play. Or not an error, but a warning. Or not. Interesting. Well, in any event, Unity used to complain. Oh, there we go. There it is. Down at the bottom here. There are 2 audio listeners in the scene. Please ensure there is always exactly 1 audio listener in the scene. Yeah. So this is the error right here, or notification. Unity's not so happy about having 2 audio listeners. You want just 1. As for adding a sound effect, this is also quite easy. if we go under audio and select audio source and like don't miss, we get this thing called an audio source, which we might notice is just an empty game object with an audio source component on it, which tells us that we can also add an audio source component to anything that we want. And then you would just drag your sound clip into there, which I didn't grab.
How do you make a sound clip?
So it'll take pretty much anything, an MP3 file, a WAV file. Are there other commonly used? ODF? No, not ODF. OTT? There's one that starts with an O. Any standard sound file will be able to go into there. So if you had a song that you wanted to drag in, you could do that. There are a bunch of different websites online that let you download different sounds for what you need. Let me see if I happen to have one on my computer to demonstrate. I failed to grab. Can we please show my desktop and let me see. Do I see what I'm looking for? Yes, I do. Let's grab these. So we can take a sound and bring it into here. And oh my goodness, my computer is not being very cooperative today. Oh my goodness. So we can just take our sounds and drag them into our projects folder. Now I can come over to the audio source and drag in a sound clip. And let's loop it. Oh, you guys aren't going to hear this, are you? You guys don't hear anything, do you?
I hear a buzz.
Share computer sound. Try now. So I just took, these happen to be .wav files, doesn't really matter. Drag it into the audio source and it plays. I checked loop so that it would loop. There's also a little bit of editing you want to do. If you wanted to pitch it up, you can also do that. So I do this. Maximize on zone. So you can do some interesting things with these little edits that you can do here. Not a heck of a lot, but enough to add some effects. Of course, you can change all of this in script if you want as well. So yeah, that's how you go about adding sounds. So, sounds, not hard. I suppose the only other thing you might care about on this is how to go about playing it at a certain point in time. So if I just open up the character controller, what I can do is I can go public audio source sound. I can just add in something of an audio source type. And then, oh, this is something that I didn't talk about yesterday when it comes to scripting. What we can do is make certain decisions about what we want to do. We can do this by constructing an if block. So we need the word if, then a pair of open parentheses. This space doesn't matter, but I like to put it in. And then we can ask a question, for example. did the user press mouse button 0, which happens to be the left mouse button? Then I can put a pair of squiggly braces to create a new block. Okay, if they did press the left mouse button, what do you want to do? Well, I'm going to grab the audio source and I'm going to instruct it to play its sound. So that's all I've added. I've added an audio source up here as another part of the inspector. And then I'm saying if the left mouse button is hit, play the sound. So now if I go and do this, wait for it to compile, I'm going to click off play on awake. Otherwise it's going to play, the sound is going to play as soon as I start, no matter what's happening. So I'm going to just uncheck that, go onto my capsule, whom I should probably rename to player. And I'm going to find the player controller script, find the sound field, and drag my audio source into there. Now when I go ahead and play, we don't hear anything. But if I left click, we do hear something. And every time I left click, it's going to play a sound. So that's how you can trigger a sound to play, by grabbing a reference to the audio source and then calling dot play on it to control when you want to play it. So if you had a gun that was shooting, you might want to play the sound then. If you got to the end and you wanted to play some fanfare, you could do it then. And the third topic that I have for you guys today concerns triggering stuff when the player walks into a certain area. So this goes really hand in hand with that. I'll show you how to trigger a bunch of different things that you might want to trigger when the player does some particular set of actions. So any questions so far about sounds and how to add sounds? So how you make a gun with sound? Yes, this is how you make a gun with sound. Yeah, any other questions?
We're good here.
Beautiful. Chomping through these topics nice and quickly. Okay. So I'm going to go create a bunch of folders for myself. Folder 1, I'm going to call this scripts and drag my player controller into there. And I'm going to create a new one. Folder sound.
And you guys can add any background music to your project this way, right? Just download the song and just pull to your project. Yeah.
I have no idea why that got duplicated, but that's fine. Save that. All right. So the next thing I want to show you guys. Now this one is properly real fun. There'll be a few caveats involved, but it's not too bad. The first thing to do is to go up into your top menus up here and find the one that says window. Then you want to come down to where it says animation and select the animation window. You can also hit Control-6 to open it, but this is the best way to get it. It's going to probably pop up. Oops. Something like this for you guys, just floating in the middle of your screen. What you want to do is probably drag it and dock it somewhere. You can put it over here, you can put it up here. I like to put it down here and then use down here for my animation. Doesn't really matter where you put it, but you're going to want to be able to see the scene view at the same time as the animation window. Once you've done that, you can then go ahead and create an object. Let's create a cube. Sure. Reset the transform on that. Bring it up. And then with your object selected, you can go and hit create. is going to ask you for a name. My first animation. And then you're going to get here. What animation lets us do is record a set of transformations on an object and then play it back later. So we can do this by clicking this red record button, and then we can start recording stuff. I can move it somewhere else. And notice these little diamonds appeared. These are what are called keyframes. They are points in an animation where we control where we want an object to be or look like. In between keyframes, the computer figures out what intermediary steps are to get from one keyframe to the next. That's a little complicated, but what it means is if I move this slider ahead in time, because this is a timeline, and these are, I think it's in frames right now is the measurement, but it might be in milliseconds. They're close enough that it doesn't really matter. And then I drag this to a new position, and I drag this ahead once again and move this somewhere else. Then I can stop. And now when I play it back, we'll notice that between keyframe 1 and keyframe 2, and the position that it winds up at, it moves between it. Likewise for keyframe 2 and keyframe 3. So now if I hit the play button, my cube is now animated to go from there to over here via this third point here.
Noted that Ryla pressed the play button in the animation window.
Yes,
not the,
right here, not the big play button up there, the little play button down here. I can also zoom out on the timeline to get more time. And if I were to drag these keyframes farther ahead in time, say to there, now if I play, it moves a lot slower because it's covering the same distance in a shorter period of time. Now, position isn't the only thing we can change. If I come back here and go back into record mode, and I grab my scale tool and make it nice and big, like that, and let's just stop that for now. Oh, actually, hold on. I'm going to go back into record mode, drag it to here, and tell it to come back down to its regular old size. Boop, like that. There we go. Leave record mode. Now when I play, whoop, meow, whoop, meow. As you can see, it gets big and it gets small. And in fact, any of the properties that we have, we can animate. Now this tool is a little bit more powerful than what I've just shown, but this is the easiest way to get into it. You can also add properties here to have much better control over it and edit this timeline and move things around and create new keyframes without going into record mode. This button will add a keyframe at wherever this white line is at. And you can add properties and change them like that, but using the record mode is definitely the easiest and most approachable way to create animations.
Very cool.
But,
what if I wanted to change the color?
Oh, changing the color. Sure. That's a good, I'm gonna come back to your question, Nathan. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, but I need to talk a little bit more about what's actually going on with the animations before I can talk about animations from Blender. So animating color. Let's put this back here. Animating color is weird. Remember, color is not handled by our object. It's handled by a material. So we need to animate the material on our object. I don't think it's going to work with the default material. So I'm going to just give it a different color. Sure, like that. So now I have a material on it. If we take a look, the mesh renderer is what has the materials on it, and indeed is what actually has the material component to it. So if I want to change the material, I need to add a property from the mesh renderer. The materials, color, here we go. And then I come over and hit the little plus button next to it. And now I should be able to change the color if I hit the little drop down here. So this is the color on this keyframe. I can come here, add a new keyframe, and change the value of the R, G, and B. I can change it to, let's go 1, 0.7,
Cool.
and this can be like 0.2. That's an ugly color. Let's actually make you the 0.2 and make you the 1. That's a little bit nicer, nice steel blue.
Nice.
And then I could come over here and add another keyframe.
There are lots of
And
tools
set-
on the internet that allows you to pick the color and shows its RGB components. So yeah, you can use that if you want to be more sophisticated.
And do, let's do 5, oops. Actually, let's just do 1, 1, 1 for white. There we go. And now if I've done this correctly, and we play, it goes through the different colors. Now, getting these colors was not the easiest thing in the world, and I happen to understand how RGB works rather well, and even me picking the colors was a little bit of a challenge. But I've definitely managed to animate the color somewhat as we move through. Important thing to notice that even as we're doing this, the actual material isn't changing its color. It's just this one object that's changing the color. And if I were to have another object with the same material on it and still playing, it's only the cube that changes its color. So unlike with materials and two things having the same color and their color changing, when we're playing like this, it doesn't make a difference. It's just the one object that's changing its color. So, animations.
Awesome.
Now, are there any questions about animations?
And I see Zachary had the question, how will you download a sound?
I don't have any particular websites off the top of my head.
The safest place is to go to YouTube Audio Library, because that belongs to Google. We know it's virus free. So can you maybe quickly show browser and I'll walk them through that?
Sure. I think I have a browser open for just such an occasion.
Yeah, just type YouTube Audio Library.
YouTube Audio
Audio
Library.
Yeah, and it should take you to a free resource. Yeah, YouTube Music Library, Audio Library is the second one. Okay. You have to log into your Gmail account, of course, for YouTube. Yeah. Yep, right here.
Oh,
so here you guys can sort by genre, by mood. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Go under sound effects. That's probably a good place to find some cool.
Yeah, so you have the free music here, you have free sound effects, and YouTube have this library for those creators to create the videos for their studio. Yeah, but here you can sort the music and sounds by genre, by mood, right? So it's pretty cool tool.
Oh, can you guys see because I've moved on to a different desktop?
Yep, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, and just
Brilliant.
to download it, you just use the arrow on the right, and it will be downloaded to your computer as any sound or any music.
Let's see, what's a good sound to use? Barnyard with Animals, how about?
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect, so we can just grab it,
Just grab it, download it.
It'll show up like this. I'm
Yep.
going to go show in folder.
Mm-hmm.
Shoop.
Yeah, I don't recommend you going to any sketchy places because when you download the sound, you can bring a lot of viruses with you. Your parents wouldn't be happy, but this is a safe place that we always show to our students.
This one is new to me.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, we always use it for our Now Robots movies.
Okay. Yeah, so then I can just come into my projects, my assets, my sounds, come over to my downloads folder and drag in the sound.
Zachary, when you mean custom sounds, are you talking about like making your own sounds? Yeah, if you want, one way that you could do it, like for most sound effects, probably better to like download them. For instance, if it's like something that you don't have access to, or like making gun sounds and stuff. But if you want to add custom sounds, like most computers have a built-in audio recorder, or like a
Well, just record it with your phone. Yeah, just record it
or
with
your phone too. So for instance, if you want to add like voiceover to your game, or like add like one of those weird ominous voices, you can record it like that. And then there's some softwares that can help you like modify it. But if you just want like raw audio that you're recording, you can just record it using one of those apps and then just drag it into your game just the same way that you would one of these sounds.
Okay, yeah. So these are cool stuff that we promised you guys. And it's just an MP3 file, so any MP3 file can be downloaded to your project. Okay, so yeah, two cool features. Animation is good to use to create an obstacles, right? So for example, I've seen the kids do like two walls that would just come in and out like this, and the player had to just pass through it. So if your game has any obstacles for your players, maybe you can animate those to make things even harder for your player, right? So that's a pretty cool way to use that.
And later, in just a bit, maybe rather soon actually, I'll show you how we can use animation as well as a new really powerful technique in scripting to, for example, have a door close when a player walks through it. Okay.
It's 1:48, so before we move to collision detection, we can give maybe a 5-minute break to everyone.
Hold on, I'm not quite done with animation yet. There is
sorry.
handful more things I need to
Okay.
cover. So the first thing is you have this animation file, which is actually an animation. It's actually the animation, so we probably want to create a script to house it or whatever. If we go onto the cube, we'll notice that it has this animator component on it. This is what plays the animation, and if we want to be actually interacting with it in script, this is the best way to use it. It's not the one I'm going to be teaching when we cover animations in script because it is significantly more complex, but just notice that we have added a new component to our cube. If we uncheck the loop time selection here, and we go and hit play, it'll play once and not loop. If we check it again, do I have to restart? Yeah. If I check this and then play, we'll notice that the animation continues looping. So that's what the loop time does on the animation itself. It tells it whether or not to loop or not. The only other thing that we have is, oh, it's not here, is it? No, it's not. Okay. Do we have to do it in here? I think we do. Do we have to do it with this? I don't think so. I didn't think so. This is the animator. This is actually what's underneath the animator component that we just saw a moment ago. It's what really adds the complexity to using the animator component itself. Somewhere there should be a play on awake checkbox that you can uncheck to stop it from playing at the very beginning. I can't seem to find it right now. I could have sworn it was on the animation itself, but it's not. Anyways, the other big thing, so this is just little things to be worried about here. The really big thing is I haven't made my animation in a very good way. Watch this. If I move my cube over to here, expecting the animation to go like this, and now I play, it's back to where I originally made the animation from and playing from there, which often isn't ideal. We want to make an animation somewhere and then move it somewhere else. What we have to do to get that to work is to create an empty game object and make the cube a child of the game object. And actually, I want to move this game object to where the cube is right now. There we go. And now I can make the cube a child. And now, if I'm right, it will, yeah, now it's moving, it's animating relative to where that parent game object is rather than where it is in the world. So often we don't want to do it like this because you saw I had to fiddle around a whole bunch to get things to line up correctly. Typically what you're going to want to do is create this empty game object and then create the object you want to animate as a child and then start animating it. But this is how you can now move, and now if I want to move around the animation, I just move around to this parent game object. If I wanted to move it over here, now I can go ahead and play, and the cube does what it's supposed to do. Perfect. That's all I wanted to cover when it comes to animations and sound for now.
Okay, so any questions?
Oh, is there a way to change the speed of an animation from Khalid? Yes, there is. Like I said, if I go ahead and click on the cube, by moving, so I get to pick how long it takes to get from one keyframe to the next. I can change the speed by, I can make it longer by giving more space between my keyframes and shorter by giving less space between my keyframes. And I can just select the keyframes and drag them around until I get them where I like.
And Bradley, maybe you can cover the Blender question before we look.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So when you make an animation in Blender and you export as an FBX file, you're going to get an object with a bunch of different things in it. And among those things are going to be these animations. When you bring animations into Unity from Blender or from anywhere else, and I'm going to show you a little bit later some places you can get it from, they're going to come in like this. And we just need to make sure that we set up, we drag them onto the correct associated objects. So, yep, if you do your animations in Blender and then bring them into Unity, they should all work fine out of the box. I can also point you to some places to look into the best way to move things between Blender and Unity. Because there are a handful of gotchas, but yeah, it works just fine, and you get all these files.
Yeah, perfect. So with that, we have 5 minutes left before 2, so let's use that time to grab water or take a washroom break, and we'll start with collision detection then at 2 o'clock. Okay? So we'll see you back at 2. So you guys have 5 minutes break. Okay?
And if you have any other questions in this break, feel free to ask them.
Yes. If you have any questions, stay on, and we'll take care of them. Okay, as Riley show more and more cool stuff, yeah, I can't just wait to see your final projects. And just one wisdom I wanted to share: don't wait for your parents to push you to do this stuff. If you actually cool and you want to actually create something, Unity is a really good tool, and I've seen Unity being used to create even cartoons and animations, and like especially hand on hand with Blender. So it's a really powerful tool. It's a tool used by professionals to create games. And based on my knowledge, the UX UI designers, the video game designers, they're the highest paid jobs on the IT market. So if you find that cool, maybe that could be your future. Instead of playing games, you could create games and play them at the same time, right? And make a lot of money.
So I actually do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Max.
So I've been working on a different game for a while, and so I just looked at it again because I haven't looked at it in a while, and I just tried to play it. But basically, when you look at a block, it's supposed to like outline it in like an outline that I have, but it's not really working.
Charlie, do you have time now to look at it, or to help, or do you want to maybe Max to stay after the class and look at that and help?
Yeah, maybe staying after might be the better option. I just want to.
Yeah, because we don't know how much help you might need, right? So
how are you doing the outline, Max?
Pardon?
How are you doing the outline?
Oh, so basically my dad just made like an outline in Photoshop, and then we have like a script to like put it onto the block and stuff, like to like add a second material onto the block, which is the outline material.
I see. I see. That's not going to work because you're working in 3D. So you need to somehow get a 2D outline around something, no matter which angle you're looking at it.
Yeah, it was working before. I don't know what happened though.
It was working.
Yeah.
Let's just say, is that okay? Can you stay for a couple minutes after the class? We can look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that best.
Yeah. So Max, just don't leave after the class, okay?
Okay.
Yep. No, we'll have a look at it. Okay, so we still have 2 more minutes. I'll go grab some water.
Wait, Riley, for the door, can you just make it like a rigid body with like a fixed edge?
Yeah, you could.
That seems like a fun way to do it.
That's not the way I'm going to be doing it, but yep.
You can add a trigger collider too?
Yeah. And then I'm going to play the animation.
How is this supposed to work?
What do you mean?
This door.
It's going to close after you walk through it.
Bro, that's not bad.
Pardon?
That's actually not a bad idea.
All right. Hopefully it's going to close.
Yeah, but you'll have to go in really fast.
No, it'll close after you've walked through it. Let's slow that down. Maybe half as fast. Let's try that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's nice.
Yeah, that's good.
It's 2 p.m. and I hope everyone's back.
Okay, perfect. And let's just call you a, oops, door frame. And we can move you off to the side for now. There we go. And shrink that. And maybe let's disable that, and let's go ahead and create a
Bring this up today.
cube. Okay. Collision detection, where we detect collisions. Let's see. So I'm going to go create a new C# script. Oops. And I'm going to call this collision and trigger demo. You're probably going to want to give it a better name than that, but that's what I want to call it for now. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And actually, before I open it up, I'm going to drag it onto my cube. Okay, so now I have this on here. I'm going to hop into here, and I'm going to go ahead and delete. No, I'm going to leave those. But I'm going to add a whole bunch of new ones. So the first thing I want to show you is if we type, so we're inside this block here, between these two squiggly braces, but I'm outside of any other block. I'm going to type void, capital ONCOLLISIONENTER, on collision enter. And it's going to auto-complete for me. I'm fine with leaving this. This is exactly what I want. Void on collision enter, with or without the private in the front. And then it takes a collision. So this is just like start and update, except here's where we specify the commands that happen when a collision begins. What do we want to have happen when we run into the box?
Explosions.
I could do that. Maybe I'll do that in just a little bit. There's another command. Here's what we'll do. We'll do transform dot position is equal to, this is a really fun thing you can do. If you want to move 3 units, up, I can do new vector 3, 0, 3, 0. I could do that. Or I can say I want to go 3 units in the direction of up. And I'm going to leave it like that. So if I do just this, and I walk into it, right. One other thing we need to do. One of my 2 objects, my player controller or my cube, needs to have a rigid body on it. So I'm going to go to my player controller, and I'm going to add a rigid body. Now, we've seen this go really bad in the past. A good way to fix this is to click is kinematic. This will mean we're going to do the physics calculations, we're going to figure out physics, but we're not going to act on the object. So now if we play, excuse me. Right. Okay, this is the bit where Unity gets really, really frustrating. Fine. we're just going to add a regular rigid body to the cube. Get rid of the rigid body on the player. Do we work? Nope. Remove component. Go ahead and play. Ha! So I thought it was going to be
What's
when.
happening?
What is happening? Okay, so I needed a rigid body on something, and it had to be a non-kinematic rigid body. Whenever the cube touches something, including the ground, which I didn't quite foresee, it moves 3 units into the air. And then gravity takes over and it falls. But after its teleport, it continues on with whatever momentum it had to begin with. And so we get this.
The dancing cube.
If I really wanted to, I could probably stop this a little bit by moving it above the ground and then constraining its position and rotation. The reason I ran into issues is because collisions don't occur between with just a kinematic body. There we go. Sufficiently walked into it, it moved up. Now I can't reach it to touch it again, but I can definitely play the game again to demonstrate what I was talking about. There we go. So when I walk into it, it moves. That's how we do collision detection. Not particularly useful here. If we had been shooting a bullet at it, very, very useful for detecting this. Now, there are a bunch of other ones that we can use. There's on collision exit, which is the same thing, but takes into effect when we leave, when we stop colliding with something rather than when we start. And then there's also on collision stay. This is called every frame that you're in contact with something else. I'm not going to demonstrate them. I've never had a use for any of them, for either of those. I've had use for on collision enter, but not the other two. They come up every now and again, and they're good to know about, but they're not the most useful things in the world. Questions about that so far?
No.
How we make the camera follow. I may talk about that later. I think I might also talk about it a bit tomorrow when we talk about some other things. We'll see. Okay, so that's on collision enter. Let's head back into Unity for a second and recompile. The door close animation, I don't want you to loop. I don't want you to play on awake either.
And again, for those of you guys who are not strong in programming, would not expect you to understand what script is actually doing, but we expect you to know where to insert the lines of code that you find and put. Okay, so just think of it as a Lego bricks that you find on internet, or Riley give it to you and you know how to put them together. Okay, so that's what we expect from you.
I'm gonna get rid of this rigid body. I'm gonna try something. Do kinematic rigid bodies participate in trigger events? Maybe. They might. Rigid body. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. Add component. Rigid body. Kinematic. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto my cube, and I'm going to click this little checkbox that says, is trigger. Okay. If I do that, now when I walk through it, I just kind of pass through it. If I give you a kinematic, do two kinematic rigid bodies collide with one another? I can't remember. No, they don't. Okay.
Don't you need to, in the code, it should be on trigger enter, no?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Oh yeah, you're right, actually. So, we have this. I'm going to just clean that out for now. The other thing that we have is on trigger enter. We notice that I clicked the trigger checkbox and it made me pass through it. It also stops firing collision events and starts firing what are called trigger events.
Riley,
on
instead of
trigger enter.
deleting it, can you just comment it? And because we will be sharing the script with them.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
So if I put 2 slashes before a line, like we have up here, it comments the line out, turns it green in my color coding, and makes Unity completely ignore it.
Mm-hmm. Then for you guys, if you need that line of code, you just uncomment it. Just remove those 2 slashes in the beginning. Okay.
Yep. So on trigger enter, notice that we have access to a collider, not a collision. Now we can do something with it. I'm going to do the exact same thing as before. Up. So it's the exact same code as before, but now we're entering on trigger. If I go ahead and play with this, after it saves, or not saves, but compiles, and now if I run into it, it moves up right away. Notice that, unlike before, I was able to do it with just a kinematic rigid body on my player controller. I knew it was one of these that worked. Bink. And do I even need the rigid body on it? I might not. No. Okay. So the other thing about triggers is they don't require any rigid bodies. For collisions, we need to have an active non-kinematic rigid body on one of the objects in the collision. For triggers, I have no such thing. I just have colliders on everything. And one of the colliders is marked is trigger. So that's how we can trigger stuff. Now, questions about trigger. How do you do that how do you do that other thing with?
You mean the comment?
Yeah. I can also comment out an entire block of things by using Control-K, Control-C. Oops. That's not what the question was. I can also comment a whole bunch of things by putting a /* at the beginning and */ at the very end, and it just comments out a block. I don't use that terribly often, but it's also there if you want to use it. Max.
And there are buttons on top to comment and uncomment.
Yeah.
In the panel. Yeah. If you forget ever how to comment, Riley, which icon on top is comment? I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th. The other one, the next one. Yeah.
Comment. Yeah.
The other one uncommented.
No. Oh yeah, it does. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I always forget that commenting Visual Studios is not a toggle thing.
Yeah.
I think you can comment a commented thing.
Yeah.
Most editors don't let you do that. That's fine.
Again,
Okay,
for those, Armand, for example, specifically for you, what commenting does is just, you see it turns the line into green, and that makes the compiler to completely ignore that line. So it's not going to be executed as the code, okay? It's a nice way for us to keep the line that we don't want to delete yet, but we're not sure about it, so that we don't have to type it again. We just uncomment it. Next time we need it, we activate it. Okay.
So, questions about on collision enter or on trigger enter? Nope. Okay. I'm going to start building up then what I was talking about when to get the door to close as you walk through it. So the first thing I need is I need to know what the animation is. And then in on trigger enter, nope, that's not the one I wanted to hit. That's the one I wanted to hit. In on trigger, then all we want to do is play the closed door animation. Now this is gonna have a couple bugs, but we'll figure it out. We hop back into Unity. The other thing we're gonna wanna do is I think we can turn off the animator and actually drag on. Can we get an animation component? And then drag in that. Do not. So if I do that, and then I take my cube with the trigger and drag that into there. If I've done this right, and I'll explain what I did if I did do this right, when I walk into it. Clearly, I did not do it right.
Your is trigger was off though. Do you need that box to be checked?
No, it's checked. Is
Oh.
trigger is working. We can check that by doing print closing door. And if we're going to be doing that, we forgot a semicolon. That's fine. We're also going to want to be getting rid of these print statements there. Very good. And put the semicolon where the semicolon belongs. And play. Legacy, yes I know. Default clip cannot be found in the animation list. Okay. So never mind, not doing it like that. I guess
So
we're gonna have to go.
What's the goal, Riley? You want to when the capsule hits cube, the door close?
To play the animation without using too much of the
Right.
new animation system.
Right. Okay.
I thought this would be easier. I guess not. Nope. This is the one that I want. Door close 0. Door close 0. Delete.
It's another very important skill to know how to troubleshoot things. So actually, I like when something goes wrong, so you guys can actually see how Riley troubleshoots it.
Okay. So I don't think I'm going to be able to teach this, do this as easily as I was hoping to. I thought we could still
Riley,
use the, yeah.
In your script, when you do dot play, is it just dot play, or are you supposed to put something in the brackets? Don't you have to put like the animation name or something? Try to put some quotes and then write like door close how you have it in your animator. So in quotes, name of the animation.
Okay, and what's the name of the door close?
Well, how look at how you did it in your animator. So yeah, door close, capital D, capital C.
Yeah.
Okay, I can definitely try that. And then if I were to do that, I need to come back here and select this, turn off this, select the animation, give it, give it the door closed animation, do not play automatically, boop. Unassigned, up, yep, clearly. And then drag that into there.
I'm still broken.
Could not be found. Okay, that's fine.
Oh.
That's fine. I'll
Fine.
just use the new animation system to do it. So with the new animation system, what we want is we actually have to go through this animator. Animators let us define what transitions ought to play when, and then we can use a script to tell us that when. So what we want to do, so this starts off in the entry state and then moves into the door closed state, which plays the door closed animation. That's not what we want. That's going to play the animation right away. What we want is to create a waiting state and we want to delete default entry transition. Please. What do I want? I want to make this the default transition. Where is it? Fine then. You're going to be none. And you are going to be called waiting. Spelled somewhat less like that, please. Thank you. And now we're going to make a transition to here, delete this transition, and here. What we want to do is now we can set up a list of conditions. To do this, we need to create a parameter, and I'm going to create what's called a trigger parameter, and I'm going to call this close. And then when I click on the transition, I can add to this the close trigger, noting how I spelt it. And now, if I break this out into here, and where'd my inspector go? There we go, inspector's back. I'll put it up there. If I now come and grab my door frame and reactivate the animator, and I go ahead and play, all this is done is to stop the door from closing on play. But now, when I activate the trigger, of course it doesn't work because I didn't set up the animation. I also need to assign the door close animation to this state. There we go. Now if I play, doesn't close, trigger the animation, the door closes and stays closed, doesn't open again. That's all I've done now. But I've now set it up in such a way that I can access this trigger from my script. So if I hop into the script, instead of getting an animation, I want an animator, spelled correctly. Animator. And I'm just going to call this door. And now, instead of calling play, I need to call door.set trigger. And the trigger that I want is the close trigger. There we go. A little bit more work than I wanted to do to get this working. But hopefully some of you can take something away from that. So now when I walk into the cube, I'm going to forget to actually assign which animator I want to be using. Don't forget to drag your objects into where they need to go. Now, when I trigger it, the door closes. Wonderful. This is how we can trigger different events throughout the game. The last thing to show is how we can get this to happen when we walk through the door and not just when we run into the cube. This is going to be easy enough. I'm going to delete the cube, and inside my door frame, I'm going to create another empty object. And I'm going to add a component to it called a box collider. I'm just making a collider without, and we can get rid of these animator for now. So now I've created an empty game object that has, oops, daisies, only a collider on it. And I can change aspects of this collider. I can move it up a little bit. I can also click this Edit Collider button and proceed to completely lose it. Select these dots, hopefully. Hopefully, gentle mouse, there we go. And stretch it to fill the space I need it to fill. Like so. Perfect. And I want to select the trigger. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my collision script to this object. So now we have this, it has the collision script on it, it has a collider, it's a trigger collider, I can drag in the animator, and now I can go ahead and move this door frame as a whole thing somewhere to like here, and maybe we'll rotate it a bit, like that. Now, if I go ahead and play, assuming I did everything correctly, which live coding, and I walk through it, the door closes. It wasn't quite after I walked through it, but definitely when I started walking through it. Worked mostly correctly. This motivates the next change I want to make. Just like we have on trigger enter, we also have on trigger stay for when we're inside the trigger, every frame that we're inside the trigger, and maybe more useful for our purposes, we have on trigger exit. So I'm going to just copy these down to here. Door.set trigger close after we finish passing through the door frame. So that's all the change that I've made there. And now copying back into Unity. I ought to be able to walk through the door frame, and after I finish walking through, the door closes. Voila. This is how we can use animation and scripting together to get events like this to happen. That's not the button I meant to hit. Are there any questions so far?
Awesome, that's cool. If that is too advanced for some of you, and because we have more advanced students and complete beginners here, so we just decided that we want to give something more advanced to those students who actually handle more. This detection, the collision detection, you guys can use in your game when you want to go to next level, for example, right? So like the player finished the first level, it hits there and it triggers the complete new scene. So Riley, for those who are complete beginners and who kind of was lost in all the animation coding door closing, can you create a new scene where there's no door closes and just show them how to trigger the appearance of new the second scene, the second level on their game, so that they can use that without any animation? Just a simple scene where the player just goes to the end of the game and then the new scene appears, so that they can use it in their project without any animation.
So I'm going to make a handful of things right now that you guys can make use of and we have about half an hour left, and so I've just shown you how collision detection and colliders work.
Mhm.
Especially with trigger colliders, we can use this to create different areas that we want to have different things happen in. So that's the main takeaway. Using a trigger collider that has no is completely invisible throughout the playing of the game. So we can create different areas of effect, if you will. First, so there's a handful of things I want to show that work really nicely in conjunction with this. I want to show you how to start a particle system when you walk into that. So I'll write a script for that so that you guys can modify it if you want to use different particle systems. For an end of the game, for example, I'll also show you how to change a scene when you walk into an object, and I'll give you that script to you. And I'll also show you how to destroy something when you walk into it. If you wanted to say, pick up objects or whatever, I'll give you a script for those. Hopefully I can get through this in all three of those things in the next half an hour or so. I'm going to do that by creating 3 cubes. Reset the position on that. Go to the move tool, move it up a little bit. Bloop. Create a new cube and a new cube. And we're going to name these next level. I'm going to name this one fireworks. And this one I'm going to name destroy. And just to make life easier, I'm going to go select some materials. I'm going to create a new material, and we're going to call this green. And green, we're going to assign to the next level. A new material, red, and we're going to assign red to destroy. And finally, I'm going to create a new material, and we're going to call this yellow. And yellow can go and attach to whatever I call that one. Red, let's make you properly red. Green, we can make you properly green. And of course, yellow gets to be, do you want to make a nice yellow? Yeah, it's a decent yellow. There we go. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and make these scripts all right away, and then I'm going to get into editing them. So I need a script called next level. I need a script. And we're going to call this fireworks. And the last one we're going to call I would like to call it destroy, but I think Unity might be unhappy about that name, so I'm just going to call it poof.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry I have to recreate this one so many times. Whenever you make a change to the scripts, Unity likes to compile, and it doesn't want to do anything during that. So it's just having a little bit of trouble making these scripts for me. Poof. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and assign these right away. It's an important step. Right after it compiles. Okay. So next level goes to next level. Fireworks goes to fireworks. And poof goes to destroy. All right, tackling these one at a time, let's take a look at next level. So going to the next level is not particularly challenging, but there are some gotchas involved. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of start and update because we're not going to be using them. And then I want an on trigger enter, which we're going to fill out in a bit. Remember the place that I told you guys not to touch? This is one of the few times we're going to touch it. We need to add a new import. If we want to be dealing around with different scenes in Unity, we need to tell Unity that we're using Unity engine dot. We want to tell Unity that, hey, we want to use the Unity engine's built-in scene management tools.
For those of you who are familiar with Python, this is same as importing another library. Yeah.
Correct. And then what we want to do is we want to go scene manager dot set active scene. This is how you change the scene. Now it's going to want an actual scene. It wants, hold on. That's not the button we want. We don't want set active scene. We want load scene. Sorry, load scene is the one we want. And then it wants the name of the scene we want to go to. The way we're going to get this, public string scene name. So the script for this is remarkably straightforward. It's just a handful of lines. Importantly, we need the scene management. We're going to need to be able to get a way to get to know which the next scene is. And then we need to be able to load the scene by using scene manager.load scene. And then we tell it the scene name that we want to load. Once you have all that, there's a little bit of work we need to do inside of Unity.
Is that you're okay? Do you have a question?
Oh. No.
Okay. So make sure your scene is saved. Go take a look at Next Level. It didn't get the script. Interesting. There we go. Did Fireworks get its script? Nope, it didn't. You want your script, please. Come on, come on, come on. Thank you. And destroy. Got poof. All right. So now we need a name. We find this name by going into our scenes folder and looking at one of the names here. I'm going to go into the snowman scene. Snowman. Okay. So I type it in, making sure that I pay attention to the capitalization. But we're not quite done yet. We need to go File, Build Settings, and click Add Open Scenes, and make sure that our scene shows up there. But we're still not quite done. I now need to head into the snowman scene and do the same thing as well. And click Add Open Scenes. And now I should see both scenes here. I may need to change the name to scenes/snowman if this doesn't work. And now I'm going to head back into the player controller scene and try walking. Oop. Everything's good? Yeah. And now I'm going to try walking into this. Nope, everything was not good. Don't forget to make all of your objects is trigger. That's what I forgot. So now if I walk into it, we're now in the snowman scene.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you're going to most often use it for, right? Okay, one of the cases.
One of the cases. All right. Questions about scene management?
Yeah. Make sure you understand this, guys, because this is the minimum that will be required for the homework.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and we have 20 minutes left. Just at this point, I want to say the minimum homework for those who doesn't want to think creatively or create something on their own and work on their own projects. So the minimum homework here would be to start with your incredible machine scene, put some trigger at the end, and once your ball or whatever is rolling through that incredible machine hits that trigger, move to another scene with the snowman and create some disco party. Add some sound to snowman, make some animation to move things around. So that would be the minimum project for tomorrow, okay? For those of you who doesn't want to come up with their own ideas, so that's what we want to see, okay? Incredible machine.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yep.
We have to use these things that Riley's showing us to use right now?
Triggers.
Yeah, like, do we have to use like fireworks and stuff like that?
I would like you to.
Yeah, like it would actually makes us happy if you guys use as much of stuff that's Riley told as possible, right? That would actually show us that you guys got it. But again, like I understand everyone is different age, different level. So for those who, I've seen most of you, actually almost all of you, create cool, incredible machines there. I've seen your snowman scene, so I know you can put these things together, right? So incredible machine scene. At the end, something triggers the disco party of snowman. Just add some audio there that Riley showed today, and add some animation, like move the snowman, move around with the animation. Okay, so that's a program minimum for the homework for tomorrow. Just wanted to make sure before we let where everyone lives or we forget to tell you, so you're aware of your homework. And yeah, so Riley now will show you more cool stuff, and then we'll share all the scripts with you.
So the next one I want to show is the destruction script because it's the easiest. It's honestly the easiest. So I'm going to open up Poof and do what I just did before. This isn't so much to show you how triggers work, but to show you how we can remove something out of our scene while the game is running. So if you want to go and add your own scripts, this is an incredibly powerful command. It's just destroy. We just type destroy, and then we tell you what we want to destroy. We want to destroy our own game object, because game object is like the top level thing. We can also destroy components if we wanted to. But if we do that, then if I come in and I go ahead and walk into the red cube, it just disappears. Poof, gone. So if you want to get rid of something at some point, for whatever reason, you can use destroy to get rid of it. So that's destroy. That's all it does. The next thing I want to do is I want to create an effect, a particle system. I'm not going to do much with this particle system, but I am going to, oh, it's already facing upwards, perfect. All I want to do is take this bare bones particle system and turn it into a prefab, and then delete it out of my scene. We're going to be needing that in just a sec. And now I want to open up the fireworks and get rid of these like we've always been doing and put in my on trigger enter. And so this is going to be the opposite of how we destroy something. How do we take something out of the world? We want to create something, but first we need to know what we want to create. So we do this by the type of thing that we want is a game object. To spawn. Okay, so now we've created a field for what we want to create, and to make it, we want to call instantiate. Now, instantiate needs to know what to create, and it'll just go ahead and create it, but it creates it at 0, 0 in the world. So we might also want, we want to tell it where it wants to go. We can do this by either specifying a transform to be a parent. So like when we drag an object onto it in the hierarchy, we can do that. Or we can specify our own position and rotation. I can say like new vector 3, 5, 7, 2, and then quaternion.identity. So there's 3 different ways we can do this. I'm just going to set my transform as the parent. So I'm instantiating something with the cube as the parent. And what am I, so that's all that's doing. And if I wanted to do stuff afterwards, I can also get access to the object that's now being created. But if I hop back into Unity on the most basic level, it's going to compile. I'm going to hop into Fireworks, and it's going to say, hey, what do you want me to spawn? And I'm going to drag in my old particle system into there. And now when I play, and I walk into the yellow cube, the particle system spawns way over there because the prefab isn't very good. If I wanted, I could fix the prefab by moving this to actually 0, 0, 0, but still pointing in the right direction, fixing up my particle system on the fly. And now if I play, it should come right out of my yellow cube, just like that. So that's how you can change scenes, how you can bring things into the world, and how you can take things out of the world. A little bit advanced, but exceptionally powerful for anyone who wants to do it. All right, any questions so far?
Hey, Riley, can you share the scripts in the chat box?
Yeah. So as I'm waiting for questions, I will send everyone all of the scripts.
Yes, make
If
sure
my
to
computer
download
likes-
that before we end the meeting, because otherwise you won't have access to them after this.
Yeah. So scripts.
Again, with scripts, you have to remember that the name of the script that you, when you create the script here in the assets, in the assets tool, in the assets section, should be absolutely same name that Riley's script is using, right? So if you come up with your own names, make sure you change it in Riley's script.
That's weird.
You don't see the scripts folder?
No, I don't.
But if you right click here and show in the folder, doesn't it show?
How do you make enemies? Ooh, that's a fun question. Yeah, I don't see the scripts folder. That's weird. Okay, show in Explorer. Explorer, can you come over here? I'm going to stop sharing while I do this to make my life just a little bit easier. Let's go cancel.
And in the meantime, maybe Lucas, we can look at your script. Lucas said his
Why
software
can I
controller
not?
script is broken. Oh, you fixed it. Good job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Did you save them, Riley, in the Visual Studio? Maybe you can access them from the Visual Studio.
They're just gone.
I know.
They're just gone.
Did you close your Visual
Okay, you're
Studio?
still referencing it, which means you have to exist somewhere.
So when you double click on the script, it actually opens the Visual Studio?
Ooh, no, it looks like the folder got deleted.
The folder got deleted.
Fascinating.
Check your trash bin.
Ooh, good idea.
Windows is still dumb, no? Windows, I think, should store stuff.
Nope, not there.
Does it show up in Unity?
No, it's just gone.
Ah.
It is just gone.
That's so weird.
It doesn't even.
If you save it in VS Code, where does it, or in Visual Studios, where does it go?
It's not in Visual Studios.
Oh, it's gone there too. Okay.
It's just gone.
Okay, so I guess we have to create it again.
Yeah. Okay. So I might not be able to send it to you through the Zoom chat, but I should be able to send you guys the same files in the email that gets.
The Gmail won't let it through. Like we tried that, but it's, yeah, it finds it as the potential security issue. So can you at least give them the, just to restore the new scene one so that we can give them that, and we'll share the other 2 scripts tomorrow.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Yeah, things happen. That's actually very good for them to see that again, how you did that. Actually, while you're restoring that, team, maybe you can share your screen and teach them how to do the asset store. And that will give Riley time to restore his scripts, and then he can share it. Riley, would that work?
Sure. And then I have a couple other things I want to show after the asset store gets covered.
We only have 10 minutes left, though.
Let me just take a sec, because I need to actually open Unity.
Yeah.
I'm just going to open an old project so it doesn't waste time making a new one.
Okay, so now everyone, if you don't have any questions on what Riley just taught you, again, like if you're creative enough to create a new scene and use all those scripts by rewatching these videos, they were literally just 1 or 2 lines of code. By all means, please go ahead and surprise us tomorrow. But as a minimum, we'd expect you to actually tie your 2 existing scenes by creating just a trigger in between and just moving from one scene to another one through the on trigger command, right? Through the new scene load command script. Okay, and the surprise that we were talking about is the asset store. So I don't know how new you guys are to Unity, but Unity, like an iPhone, right? So comes with like its own app store. And Riley's fast. He already recreated the next level one. Good job.
With any luck, I did.
Yeah, it will be hard to remember, but because you have this video and it will be uploaded, you guys can always rewatch it. And it's basically any motion that you want the unit to do or anything to change or happen there, you have to write a script, right? So you can't get away from this script. And we try to show it as simple as possible with just 3 or 4 lines of code. If you search internet, you can find way more complicated scripts, and by all means go for it if you can manage that. But at the bare minimum, we will show you what you need without what you can't really build a game, right? The rest of the front end you can do in the Unity framework itself, but like to trigger the new scene, for example, you do need to write the script for that. To actually manage the player controller, you do need to write a script for that, right? To manage the keyboard keys, you do need some code for that. So so that's why, unfortunately, we can't get away without showing you some scripting. Yes, we understand that it might be complicated for some of you, so that's why we're actually giving you those scripts. So all you need to remember is that the script should have the same name when you create it, that the code that we give you, right? So, and we make sure to stress those points out. Anyways, team, is that your screen?
Okay,
right
we have 5 minutes, so let's do asset store real quick.
Yep. So
Okay,
we're going to show you
so-
the way around. There's an app store, there's an asset store where you can actually go and just download some assets for free. Go ahead.
Oh wait, did I just pause it? Okay, yeah, so this is a little bit of a different version of Unity, but it should be the same for the most part. Basically, in Unity, a lot of times you want to make up some kind of scenes, right? And when you're creating these scenes, I'm not, okay, yeah. When you're creating these scenes, sometimes you want like cool looking trees or like nice rocks or animals or something, right? Which for the most part, using Unity's basic modeling system, right? Using like cubes and stuff, it's quite hard to create it, right? So if I wanted to create like a tree, they have like a default tree thing, but it looks disgusting, right? Let me create one, and like what is this? Like, okay, so you can see it does some weird stuff, but the asset store is basically like a little store in Unity that allows you to go and find different assets that other people have made before download them, and put them into your project. So for instance, you'll notice it's a third tab on the top here, Asset Store. If you don't see it here, you can go Window and find it under General, Asset Store right here. Okay, and it should show up. And basically, there's going to be a bunch of different things that you can find here. There's going to be like a couple pre-made ones that you can find here. Some of them are really cool, but a lot of them are like paid. So you'll notice this one here is like an animating thing for like humans that costs like $20. We don't expect you to pay for them, of course, because there are a bunch of free ones too. So for instance, if I want to get some nice bushes, okay, for my scene, I'm going to search bushes. Okay, and you'll see there's some free ones over here. And if I want exclusively free, what I can do is I can go over here on the right side, find the filter for pricing, and just click the checkbox that says free assets. Here you see nice looking trees, some nice bushes, some nice vegetation, right? I think, you know, these look actually kind of cool. So I'm going to find this, select it, and let me make this a little bigger. There you go. And then I'm going to click download. Okay, it's going to download to your computer first. Okay, this is pretty quick. Very nice. Some assets are a little bigger, but most of them should download pretty quickly. And then you're going to have to import it to your project. Once you download it, you should be able to just like use it for most of your projects. But I'm going to click import here. That's going to bring it into this project that I'm currently working on. You'll see there's all of the stuff it's going to give me is shown right here. And I want to import all of it. So I'm just going to leave it all checked. If there's something you don't want, you can like uncheck it. But usually if you don't know what it does, you can just bring it all in and then click import. This might take a little bit of time because it needs to like bring all of these files and like put them inside of your directory.
Ooh, excuse me.
Okay, it's almost done here. Awesome. And you'll notice those assets that I just downloaded appear in my assets at the bottom here. So now I have something called tree textures, tree world space, everything, and it should be in these folders. So let me see if I can find a nice tree. So textures, this is going to be like what makes the trees look like trees. And if I go under tree world, what you're usually looking for, if it's like an asset, you're looking for prefabs. All right. And I found a folder here that says prefabs. I'm going to drag that out and I'm going to find tree. And this tree looks very nice. I'm going to take another one. They look a little different. They also move with your positioning, which is kind of really awesome. Hold up. Let's make it green. Okay, and these ones look like they actually even have an animation on them. So if I load in, I already have a first-person controller in this game. You'll see they actually like fluff around too. Okay, so these are some really cool assets, and this is just one example of how you can do it. I saw a message. What did you guys send? Are we allowed to use the asset store? You are definitely allowed to use the asset store in your project, right? So for instance, these trees, this is something that I definitely couldn't make on my own, right? And if I'm trying to make a game that takes place like in a forest or something, this would be a really nice addition to my game, right? There are a lot of assets that are going to be really weird to use, and you might not necessarily understand how to use them. So we request that, like, if you're using assets, try to use basic ones that you understand how to use. And if you don't understand how to use it, just try to go find a different one that you might be able to use a little better. Don't go and try to implement some really advanced assets and then take all of the time trying to get it to work, because some of the times, if you're not the one who created it, it's going to be really confusing to understand. Okay? But yeah, this is something that's really, really cool, and you guys can try to experiment with. And for tomorrow, if you want to create like that little mini game with using all of these things that we've shown you, right? Using the scripts that Riley made today, the triggers and animation and all of that, you can try to implement some assets in there too to make it look like a little bit of a nicer scene. One more thing that's actually really cool, if you notice in Unity, this sky is very basic. Usually in the asset store, you can download something called a skybox. Yeah, I'm sure some of you, if you've played games before, you've heard of the word skybox before, or if you've like seen game developers or anything. Here, for instance, is like a cool cloud skybox. Here is like, this one looks nice and low poly too. And these just allow you to change how your sky looks. Because a lot of times the sky is something that looks, that just kind of makes your project look worse if you don't have like a really clean looking one, right? Because the default one isn't necessarily the best looking. It looks kind of basic. So let me download this thing real quick. That was a really quick download. Right, import it into my project. Import, hopefully this doesn't take too long. And this is gonna be like a bunch of different images that you can import, right? You can even create your own skyboxes if you want to. Let me go find that thing there. See, Sky B1, there it is. And now I'm going to drag one of these onto the sky. I'm not sure which one it is. Is this not how this works? Riley, do you remember how to add skyboxes?
Yeah, go into window. General. Not general, sorry. Rendering. Lighting settings.
Okay.
And then you want to drag in the sky dot start up. Yep.
There you go. Okay, so guys, yeah, look, now if I run it, I have like a really nice looking, beautiful sky here. And like a weird textured desert floor. Right, but this, you notice just by adding that skybox, everything already looks a lot like cleaner, more realistic, right? And this is something that you might want to play around with too. So Asset Store brings out like a lot of endless possibilities, right? You can add, you can even search up some first-person controllers there if you want to see what kind they've made. There's some third-person ones. There's like different animating, like animation character models and stuff you can try to play around with. But again, if you don't understand how to do it, I don't recommend you spend all of your time trying to figure out one model.
Don't go too wild on it, because these assets take place on your machine and can slow down the entire play, right? So just download the basic things like trees, like animals. If you're building the scene that absolutely needs them. And again, like we try to push introducing Asset Store as possible to the end of the class as possible, as much as possible to the end of the class, just because then everyone so get bogged into like downloading assets that they just stop listening to instructions, right? So
yeah. Also for the Asset Store, I think you do need an account, but it should be the same account as your Unity one. So you can just, if it asks you to log in, you can log in with your Google account, I think. Yeah, and also if you're not using certain assets that you've downloaded, feel free to delete them, because that will increase the amount of time it takes you to like open your project and like load stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't want to like download a ton of assets and then not use them.
Once you download them, you just go to your assets folder and look for them there. They will appear there, right?
It should be somewhere in here.
Many people just can't find them after they download it. They will be just in your assets. Just go to the root folder of your assets and look for them there. Find the folder that looks like what you just downloaded, and then go look for prefabs in there. Okay, so that's the cool thing we promised for today, and it's 3:04 now. So for those of you, okay, first of all, are there any questions about the homework, about what Riley taught today? And Riley managed to restore all the scripts and share them. Good job, Riley.
So I sent a couple earlier. Those aren't going to work. There's a subtle mistake into them. If you want to try and find the mistake, go ahead. But I recommend, so the last 3 that I sent are the ones that are going to work.
Okay, so everyone go ahead and open the chat box, download the last 3, ignore the first 3 that Riley shared, and download the last 3. And give us yes in the chat box so that we know you have them. Or done. Yeah, okay, perfect, yes.
Okay, and I think with that, we're pretty much done for today. I'll see you guys.
If you're clear on the homework, yes, then like Riley just said.
If there are no questions, if you don't have any questions, you're free to take off. I do believe we asked someone to stick around because they had some some help with something. If there are other people that need help with something in particular, feel free to stick around and just let us know.
Then I all the way, water, water. Then I all the way, water, water.
Okay, Zachary. Surprise us tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Nathan.
Bye.
I will work
Bye.
on my game. I will do stuff.
Please,
Bye.
Okay.
yes. Bye. Okay, Max, you want to share your screen and show the problem that you had?
Okay. This one.
And I'll go stop recording.
Okay, so basically the problem that I was having is when I start my game. So with the cursor, whichever block this cursor is on, it's supposed to like highlight it in an outline, but it's not working, and it was working like the last time I tried it. And I was wondering if I could get your help on that.
Sure.